fellow human light beings. Welcome to the Michael Denny, formerly the Thunder Wizard YouTube channel. Today I'm going to continue to talk about the very rare astrological alignment that predicts that all evil rulers will face divine judgment. It also predicts that spiritual people will take over the earth. Hello and welcome back to the channel. So I'm doing a live stream, which can be a question and answer. If anybody shows up, so far nobody's here, as far as I can tell. Nobody is here, which is fine, because this will be archived. So let's go ahead and get started with this. So we talked about this very powerful alignment that we are currently experiencing, and on the 30th of this next month, tomorrow, I believe tomorrow is the 1st, this is the 28th of February, the 30th of March, we are going to have a solar eclipse. We will have already had a lunar eclipse before that, and then we will have the solar eclipse. But the thing that makes this intense is that we're literally going to have all of the planets either in the sign of Pisces, or they're going to be aspecting the 7th from Pisces, which is Virgo, and Ketu, the south node of the moon, is going to be looking directly at all of those planets sitting in Pisces. And so we're going to be talking about how powerful that is going to be. So if you take a look at this here, this is the chart. And again, this is Vedic astrology. So this is not Western astrology. Vedic astrology is an accurate calculation of the sky. The placement of the planets are accurate. Western astrology is based off of the tropical zodiac, which was an inaccurate calculation of the sky from 2,000 years ago, when the Greeks first went over to learn astrology from the Bactrians. The Vedics also learned this aspect of astrology from the Bactrians as well, but they got the correct view of the sky, which we call the sidereal zodiac. So it's going to be, I personally would not listen to any Western astrologers out there, because again, they're going off of a completely inaccurate calculation of the sky. You can argue with me all you want, but it doesn't change the reality of it. So we are having all of these planets in the sign of Pisces. And you can see there is Jupiter in Taurus, which is the number 2 sign there. And you can see Mars in the number 3 sign, which is Gemini. And both of those planets are aspecting, if you look down where it says number 6, you can see Ketu there. Ketu is being aspected by all of these planets. It's being aspected by Venus, Saturn, Neptune, Sun, Moon, Mercury, Rahu, Jupiter, and Mars are all completely focused. And Uranus. Oh, actually, I don't know what Uranus's aspects are, so forget about that. So the only planets that are not focused on that would be Pluto and Uranus, and those are outer planets that don't have as much impact as the others. So we talked last time a lot about Rahu and Rahu's impact on this upcoming solar eclipse. But before we get into that, it's important to understand that this planetary conjunction in Pisces, this is going to slowly accumulate throughout the month. We've already got a couple of planets. I believe we have Venus and Rahu there now. Let me see. Let me just make sure what planets we have in Pisces at the moment. So we already have give me a second here. So we already have, actually Moon is in Pisces right now. Moon is a very fast moving planet. It'll come around again. We have Moon, Rahu, Venus, Neptune, and Mercury. Okay, so more planets are showing up. Soon Sun and Saturn will also show up by that time. So we've got, right now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 planets, and they are all, as you can see here, if you see at the bottom, the 6th sign, which is Virgo, and Ketu is there. All of those planets are staring at that sign and staring at Ketu, as well as Jupiter and Mars. So we've already got this alignment has already started to pile up. So last time, as I said, we talked about Rahu. Rahu is going to be responsible for the solar eclipse. When the solar eclipse happens, it's going to be because the north node of the moon, Rahu, is going to be in charge of that. So Rahu and Ketu are actually one force. In the third dimension, they split up, and we only see them, two. What you're looking at is you're looking at the head of the snake, which is Rahu, and the body of the snake, or the tail of the snake, which is Ketu. And these are actually one force that are working together. And this is the karmic force that is completely and totally responsible for physical manifestation in the third dimension and being taken out of the third dimension. So Rahu brings you into the third dimension when you are born. Ketu takes you out when you leave. And so these are arguably the most powerful planets, because if you're not incarnated, planets can't have any effect on you. Right? So we talked about Rahu being your obsessions, your obsessions, your addictions on the negative side, your aspirations, your hopes, and your goals on the positive side. Rahu and Ketu are seen as negative planets in the third dimension because they have a very powerful effect on our experience of being joyful and feeling satisfaction from superficial, the Maya, the illusion that we are in. This third dimensional reality is in fact a role-playing video game. So the fact that Rahu wants you to believe in the game and enjoy the game, but it's still a game. It is not true reality. It is an illusion. Everything we experience down here is a real experience, but it is an elusive experience. And so Rahu wants you to take it very seriously. So Rahu on the negative side gets you attached to superficial attachments. Gets you attached to money, fame, career, sex, you name it. The things that are superficial and are temporary and do not bring actual happiness. Rahu is responsible for that. On the positive side, Rahu reveals all of the secrets. So if Rahu is working well for you, then what will happen is you will be able to see and experience and understand the secret world that is governing this physical illusory Maya, this illusion. So Rahu on the positive side can give very powerful psychic powers to somebody. Rahu can make somebody extremely powerful because Rahu is focused on that. So let me tell you the mythology behind Rahu and Ketu. So according to Vedic mythology, in the beginning of this three-dimensional video game, that as it was being put together, the celestial gods and the terrestrial gods. So there are two families of gods. You see this in the Norse pantheon as well. They're the Aesir and the Vanir. So the celestial gods, we consider them inaccurately, we consider them as being good and righteous, and the terrestrial or the temporal gods, we see them as being demons. In fact, the Vedic or the East Indian understanding of this is, I believe, distorted. They oftentimes will call them demons, and they're not demons. In the Norse, which comes from the exact same root religion, the Norse and the Vedic Hindu, they're two sister religions that came from an original older religion. The Norse religion calls them the Aesir and the Vanir, the celestial gods and the terrestrial gods. So the terrestrial gods are focused on enjoying this physical world, enjoying space-time. So these are the gods that are associated with love and success and sex and romance and money and magic. And the celestial gods are concerned with things only associated with the non-physical. And so they are technically at war with each other. But the truth is they're just, once you get into third dimension, things become turned into dualism. So this happens in spirituality as well. So according to the Vedic myth, all of the gods, the celestial gods and the terrestrial gods, decided to come together, and they were stirring the ocean of milk in order to bring to the surface the nectar of immortality. And in order to do that, they used a snake. And so they were stirring the snake, and the snake was bringing that up. And once they had all of the nectar of immortality, the gods actually conspired. Yes, it was a conspiracy. The celestial gods conspired against the terrestrial gods and said, let's find a way to keep all of this to ourselves so that they don't get it. They don't get any of it. And the idea was that the celestial gods would be immortal and the terrestrial gods would not, and they would be forced to die. So what happened is that Vishnu, one of the celestial gods, he transformed himself into a beautiful bikini belly dancer, and he was dancing around as he was giving the nectar of immortality to the celestial gods. And the terrestrial gods, because they are stimulated by things like sex and romance and things like that, they were just obsessed with her physically and sensually and full of lust, and they weren't paying attention. And so the celestial gods were doing their best to drink all of it so that they could become immortal and the terrestrial gods wouldn't. And what happened is that this same, the snake, I hope I'm getting this right, the snake was given, he was a terrestrial god, of course, and he was given a boon by Brahma, who said that you can be immortal. So he got that, and he sat in between the sun and the moon, which represents your soul and your mind. And as Vishnu was going around and giving out the nectar of immortality, he mistakenly gave it to this terrestrial demon snake, and he drank it. And as he drank it, the sun and the moon recognized him and said, "He's a demon, kill him." At which point Vishnu pulled out his chakra weapon and he cut off the head of this being, but he had already swallowed it. So he had already swallowed the nectar of immortality. So when his head was cut off, he was immortal. And so his head separated from his body. And this is now Rahu and Ketu. So the idea is that Rahu and Ketu have a bone to pick with the sun and the moon, which is why we have solar and lunar eclipses. So if you've ever experienced, if you're honest with yourself during these times, you will feel something spiritually different. You will feel either emotionally, you might feel some discomfort, some anxiety during the lunar eclipses, and during the solar eclipses, you might find yourself just completely feeling disconnected from your spiritual self, your soul. And so the idea is that's why the nodes are seen as negative. But that's only if you are operating from the third dimension. Eclipses are the most powerful time for seekers that want power. People who want safety tend to go inside and light candles, and they chant to Vishnu, so that they'll be saved from the evil energy of the eclipses. And the tantrics, the guys that sit naked in the burial grounds, they will go out there and they will do all kinds of mantras to the eclipse, and they want to have power, because the eclipses manifest, depending on who you talk to, 100,000 times more spiritual power than normal. So this is what's happening. And this time we've got Rahu. So when we've got Rahu, as I've said before, Rahu in Pisces wants to bring spirituality, because Rahu molds himself to wherever he is. Now, he's focused normally on the physical because he is the head of the snake. When he was drinking the nectar of immortality, in his mind, he was focused on all of the money he was going to get, all of the power he was going to get, all of the sex, all of the fame, all of the glory, all of the stuff. And his head got cut off. So his problem is he doesn't have a body to experience all of his ambitions. So that becomes just pure obsession. You're obsessed, and it's never enough. That's why Rahu is associated with addictions. Because no matter how much alcohol you drink, no matter how much money you get, no matter how much sex you get, how much fame you get, it's never enough. You can never satisfy it. You can't go, you know what, I was really famous yesterday, and that's enough. I can live with that for the rest of my life. No, you got to be more famous the next day. Look at billionaires. How is it that billionaires, after you get $1 billion, you need more money? How does that even enter your head? That's Rahu. So we've got Rahu in Pisces, means he wants to now become spiritual, because Rahu molds himself into whatever planets he's around and whatever sign he is in. And so since we have Jupiter there in Taurus, looking at Ketu, we now have a shift in focus. So all of the focus now is going to the sixth sign, which is Virgo, and you have Ketu there. So if Rahu is obsession with the physical and with the superficial, Ketu is obsessed with the opposite. Ketu has no head. So that means all of the ambition, all of the focus, all of the obsession over the physical things that Rahu was focused on when he was drinking the nectar of immortality, the physical body is not associated with that. So that means he doesn't have a head. He doesn't have a mind that is obsessed over anything. And he is all about experience. And he is all about experience in this moment. He's all about the experience of energy that has no focus, that has no intention, that has no goal, which is what we're talking about, what we consider to be moksha, liberation. We're free from all of that. We're just living in the moment. So Rahu is a psychic. He's a magician. Ketu is a shaman, meaning that he channels energy. He channels the gods. And he represents being completely connected to the spiritual. So one way to look at it is that Rahu is the head looking into the third dimension, and the rest of his body, what we call Ketu, is still in the higher dimensional, the non-physical. So wherever Ketu is, Ketu means destruction of this third dimensional reality. All of these planets, all the ones in Pisces, and including Jupiter and Mars. And if you're an astrologer, you know why that is. Jupiter's 5th aspect onto Ketu, and Mars's 4th aspect onto Ketu. So that means all of the planets are focused on one thing. being taken out of this reality. Ketu is sitting in Virgo. Virgo represents the dualism of the here and now in the third dimension, trying to figure out the best way, the best. Virgo is associated with healing, but it's not energy healing. It's not intention healing. It's healing through specific medicines. And Virgo is very precise. You have to have the right amounts of each specific herb in the right, put in at the right time, at the right dosage. And so it's all about figuring things out in the third dimension. Right versus wrong, good versus bad. And Ketu is sitting there. So Ketu says, I'm destroying all of that. We're getting rid of all of that third dimensional intellectual stuff. So he's destroying the intellect. He's destroying this third dimensional reality. So that means all of these other planets and what they are associated. Mars is connected with energy, with physical action, with warfare, with anger. Jupiter is associated with spirituality, with love and acceptance and tolerance and patience. Rahu, of course, we already talked about, is obsession of the third dimension. The moon is the mind, the spiritual mind, the meditative mind. Mercury retrograde is the intellect looking back on the past, all of the thoughts and the history and the philosophy and the consensus, the narrative of everything up until this point. That's focused down at Ketu. Sun represents the soul. It represents kings. It represents power. That is focused there, down in Ketu. Saturn represents karma, both good and bad. Karma is neither good or bad. It depends on what your focus was. If you take action towards helping others, then you're going to get good karma. If you focus on harming others for your own selfish benefit, you're going to get negative karma. All of that is focused on Ketu. So the karma is going to be brought to the surface, having to do with being released from this third dimension. You have Venus there also, which represents physicality, sexuality, money, friendship, marriage, and it is retrograde. So it's talking about the past. It's looking into all of the past of that. All of these things are focused on one thing, which is being released from this third dimension. So there we go. So let's get into it a little bit more. So this is a rare conjunction that gives divine judgment to elite rulers. It's a rare conjunction of which creates the 3D, 5D Earth split. We talked about that last time, but it bears repeating. I won't get too deep into it, but this is when everything's going to shift. And what's going to happen is the focus of this astrological event is going to, again, there's no more time. There's no more time left. This is it. Wherever you are up until this point, this is it. I mean, it's never too late. You've got a month. So if you want to drop all of your attachments and start focusing on your spiritual awakening, you can do that and you will benefit from that. But when this happens, people who are still focused on their fame, their glory, their money, their reputation, their whatever the hell it is, coming from their fear of their isolation, their disconnection from their soul, however that manifests, they're going to get the results of that investment. There's going to be no more time. The payoff, it's going to be the payoff of the investment. And so again, if you want to sell all your stocks right now in the third dimension, you want to give up your attachment to your fear, your victim mentality, your need for attention, your need for love, your need for reputation, your need to be belonging to the narrative, your need for money, your need for fame, your need for power. If you want to give up all of that, now's the time to do that. Because once we get to that point, it's going to be, well, I imagine people will still awaken, but Yeah, but we're seeing it happen, and I'm going to get into that. All right, so what was I saying? So this creates the 3D, 5D Earth split. All right, so this part is important to talk about, having to do with rulers and then receiving divine judgment. So in this conjunction plus the eclipse, it will be in the 8th house of the Leo ascendant. So as you can see here, if somebody is born right at this time, you can see at the top the number 11, that is Aquarius. So the actual ascendant of the moment is Aquarius. But if you want to look at your Vedic chart, and if you don't know what your Vedic chart is, you can go up here to astrology.thunderwizard.com and you can get an astrology reading from me or one of my astrologers. If you can also just go online and get, Vedic astrology chart, and you can punch in all of your numbers and you can get one of these little things over here. You want to focus on the one that says D1. Don't worry about D9 unless you know what you're looking at. So, but in your chart, you're going to be one of these 12 signs. So for instance, if somebody's a Pisces in Vedic astrology, then they're going to have a huge amount of energy that's going to be focused on their personality, because all of those planets are sitting in their first house. So they're going to physically, in their physical body, feel it, and their personality is going to feel it. And so there's going to be a lot of energy going towards, if you've been living a spiritual life, you're going to have a spiritual awakening like you've never seen before. If you've been running away from that, then, the spirituality that hits you might be really challenging, because you won't be able to hold on to the third dimension. In this case, we're talking about the Leo ascendant. So Leo is the number 5 there. So if that is your ascendant, that's my ascendant. But it represents rulership. So Leo represents the king. So in general, what we're talking about is all of the rulers, which is Leo. So the 8th house, this is in the 8th house. So if you go from 5 and you go counterclockwise, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, you will have gone 8 houses, including the ascendant, the first one. So you're 8 houses into it. The 8th house represents shamanic transformation. It represents the unconscious. It represents that which is buried underneath, that which is hidden, that which is secret. So this means that all of the planets, all of the things associated with each of those planets is going to be in the 8th house. So that means, and the sun itself, which is the significator of Leo, which is the ruling class. So for the ruling class, everything is sitting there in their unconscious mind, in having to do with secrets, with that which is unknown. What does Rahu do? Rahu, when there are eclipses, Rahu will reveal that which is hidden to the world. So that means everything associated with the things associated with those planets for the ruling class that have been hidden, the Rahu, the things associated that are associated with Rahu, the addictions, theft, everything associated with corruption, lying, deception. So everything associated with that is going to be having to do with the ruling class is going to be revealed. Things that they keep secret, it's going to be brought to the surface. The things that are in their mind, the moon, the things that the elites are really thinking about, that's going to be brought to the surface. The rulership that they have, the sun, is going to be flipped on its head, because the sun is looking at Ketu, which means destruction. So the destruction of their rulership, if they're focused in the third dimension. This also goes in the opposite direction. If there are rulers or elites who are focused on spiritual paths or what is good for people, that is Ketu. Ketu is very happy when people are focused on other people and what is good for them, and people aren't selfish. Ketu likes that. Ketu blesses that, because that's the truth. That's the true spiritual nature of things. So those elites that have the desire to be helpful and have a spiritual path, they are going to be revealed for who they really are. Saturn is there. So everything associated with the karma, the unseen secret karma of the rulers, that is going to be revealed, because Rahu is going to be revealing that in the eclipse. Venus retrograde. So Venus is not a negative planet. Venus is good. It is love, it is health, it is joy, it is also sensuality. It is a spiritual thing to enjoy your physical body in this world. It is a spiritual thing to enjoy beautiful physical things. I enjoy my mushroom, whatever you call this, kombucha stuff. I love that. It tastes good. I enjoy the way it tastes. I like having it. It's good to have that, having friendship. But Venus retrograde means that Venus is turned in on itself. So what we're looking at here is all of those negative things associated, people misusing their sensuality experience. That is going to be, and all of that's been hiding, that they've been keeping secret, all of that's going to come out. You know, I'm very interested to see what happens with these Epstein files, if those ever come out. That would be Venus retrograde in Pisces looking directly at Ketu during an eclipse. Neptune, I believe, is associated with deception as well, and mysteries. Those are going to be revealed. All of that stuff is going to be revealed. Mercury, the intellect, we talked about that, I think. And Jupiter and Mars, Jupiter is spirituality and Mars is transformation. So, Mars gets a bad rap because, Mars is a warrior, right? So warrior means going and killing and destroying, but actually true warfare is destroying what is negative and transforming it into something spiritual. Mars is actually the general who worships the priest and does what the priest tells him to do and does what the king tells him to do. So when you have Jupiter focused on Ketu, Mars focused on Ketu, it literally means spiritual warfare. Spiritual warfare is destroying that which is negative and that which is harmful to consciousness. And they're focused on Ketu, which means taking out of this world and into the next one. So what we are seeing right now is quite possibly the most powerful astrological setup for the complete overthrow of the elite rulers. And as I said before, this is going to give power to anybody. So listen, as you guys know, I had Trump derangement syndrome more than anybody else. I agree with almost everything he's doing. I'm not too thrilled with his, what he's doing in terms of what's happening in the Middle East conflict. I don't agree with his position on that. But I agree with just about everything else he's doing. And if you're watching this, today, Friday, February 28th, just a couple of hours ago, you saw Trump and J.D. Vance just spank Zelensky, president of Ukraine, just in front of the whole world. I mean, Zelensky was acting like a 4-year-old. I mean, he just couldn't keep his mouth shut. He was being an idiot. But they just spanked him in front of the whole world. And that never has happened in my life. Usually what happens is they sit around and they shake hands, and they might take a couple of questions, and when it comes to negotiations, they go, well, we're going to discuss that in a moment. We're not ready to discuss that now. And everything is out in the open for everybody to see. I'm very refreshed by that. Not that I need to agree with what anybody is saying, but to see what is really going on, the actual communication, the truth. This is what is represented by what we're seeing here in this astrological alignment, and we're beginning to see the effects of that, because, as I said, a lot of these planets are already in Pisces, more than I thought. I thought it was just a couple, but we've got we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these planets are already in Pisces: Moon, Rahu, Venus, Neptune, and Mercury. So as time goes on between now and the 30th of March, more and more of this energy is going to continue to show up. Remember that the entire focus of this is spiritual awakening. All of these planets are sitting in Pisces, which is the 12th planet. The 12th house. The 12th house represents the last house of all of the astrological houses, which means leaving, ending, dying. It has to do with spiritual awakening. You've gone through all of your karma, now at your end, and now you're going to be relieved from this third dimension. And that house is now focused on a house that it has to do with third dimensional reality, and Ketu, which represents the same kinds of things as Pisces: deep spirituality and destruction of this third dimension. Now, as I've been saying before, this third dimensional reality is being deleted. This is astrologically just about everything I've been talking about. Ketu is the eraser. And so it means that Ketu is erasing all of those things in the third dimension. And now the reason why this is judgment is that, this third dimension has come to an end as we understand it. The world as we have understood it has come to an end. And it's very likely that this astrologically represents that. And so where you are, where your mind is, where your spirit is, where your intentions are, when this happens, that's what's going to be revealed to the world. I'm also thinking about the Hopi myth of the end of the world, and they talk about the Bahana, the man who wears the red hat, that he is going to come and he is going to cut the heads off of the dark force rulers in front of the whole world. I saw that today on, as I was flipping through YouTube, and I saw J.D. Vance and Trump spanking. I mean, they were just, I've never seen anybody just, being disciplined like that, like a little kid in front of the whole world. He was completely, whatever respect he had, whatever power he had, was completely taken from him in front of the whole world. And this is just the beginning. We saw J.D. Vance do this, I don't know, a week or so ago, where he went in front of all of Europe, and he scolded them for Romania's election, where somebody was elected as president of Romania, and their high court nullified the election because it didn't go the way that the elites wanted. They wanted somebody else, so they just nullified it. And talk about fascism. And J.D. Vance, as a representative of the United States, scolded all of Europe for doing that. And again, we're looking at the Bahanas. We're looking at the people who are coming in to destroy all of that. They are cutting off the heads, taking the power away from the elites in front of the whole world. that is just the beginning. It's just the beginning. Anyway, we could go on and on. Let me see what else I wrote down here about this. Okay, so this this means that the hidden deceptions of rulers will be exposed. This will also reveal the altruistic intentions of spiritual rulers, meaning those who are spiritual, they will be put into places of power in front of the world. They will be recognized. The unconscious of all humans will be exposed. That means that what you're really thinking and what you're really feeling and what you really truly want, regardless of, what I'm seeing this, I was talking about this earlier, I'm seeing this in when it comes to celebrities. So, I don't follow any of that. I don't care about that, but it's hard not to see it because it keeps popping up. We see this with all of the celebrities who don't seem to understand that they're entertainers, and they're paid by the average person who goes to the movies to watch them to be entertained. They don't want entertainers, musicians and actors telling them what they're supposed to believe politically. That's not their job, and that's not what they get paid for. But somehow they've decided that they know more than you and they're more educated than you, so they're going to talk down to you and tell you what you should believe when it comes to politics. And they're losing their jobs. Millions and millions of dollars is getting taken away from them because they're the movie studios are like, you can't offend half of the viewers and expect us to pay you. So no, you're no longer going to do that movie. We're going to take that away from you. And they're flipping out and they're mad at you. The average person, they're mad at you because you don't want to buy their movies anymore. So we're seeing that in terms of celebrity, and they're at the very top. So if this is, if this is the elites, the very top of the elites is going to be the celebrities, and they're going first. They're getting taken out. They're being exposed for who they are in front of the whole world. The elites are coming next. So the unconscious of all humans will be exposed. Everyone seeking to control others will be brought down. Everyone seeking to help, heal, and empower will be raised up. Everyone will reap the true karma of their hidden intentions. False religious leaders will fall. That has to happen. That has to happen. So I think after this, religion is going to come apart. Anyway, I don't know enough about that to comment anymore. That's just my feeling, and of course it's my hope, because I really dislike religion. As you know, the word religion means to bind up, means to tie you up and bind you up, to control you. False religious leaders will fall. True spiritual seekers will be rewarded. Okay, so I pretty much talked through all of that. Anyway, I hope you found that interesting. But this is specifically what I'm focusing on today is, if we're looking at this from the ascendant of Leo, which represents the rulers and the 8th house. Now, depending on your Vedic astrology, you can take a look and see where this is going to affect you. Now, I'm a Leo, so even though I'm not a ruler or an elite by any stretch of the imagination, this is in my 8th house. So this has to do with my unconscious. So everything that I just talked about is going to be revealed to me. It's going to be extremely transformative for me on perhaps the deepest level possible. That's what this is going to be. And so I won't be the same after the 30th. Who knows what I'll be after that, but I won't be who I am now. And so that's why for the next month, I am completely focused on meditating on that. And I've got my mantra, which it's already happening. When I'm not thinking about it, I find myself chanting it either in my mind or verbally. I wake up chanting it. So I'm doing what I want, which is I want to completely have my whole mind, my conscious mind, my unconscious mind, my soul, completely focused on this so that I can surrender to what is probably going to be an extremely intense transformative experience for me. So if you want to do that, I recommend that. Now, I already have given out the mantra that I have seen works for everybody. If you want to just have a general mantra that works for everybody, I'll write it down here, so I've already talked about it. Om Namah Shivaya. So you notice there it's not Om Namah Shivaya. The reason why is because the actual sound of Om is ONG. And even many people in India don't know that. But if you look at it, there's a little dot over the M, and that is the sound of the back of the tongue hitting the roof of the mouth, making an NG sound. So even if you close your mouth, Om Namah Shivaya. So that is the mantra. If you chant that over and over again, and you focus on Shiva, the transformer, and if you're willing to go through whatever transformation is coming, then you will reap huge rewards. Now, this isn't me talking. This came from another Vedic astrologer, and if it's true, it's something that can be very wonderful, which is that the setup of this whole scenario with all these planets in Pisces and Rahu in control of the conjunction, because Rahu has the lowest number of degrees except for Saturn, but Rahu is the agent of the eclipse, that you can get tremendous spiritual powers. So maybe you'll become super psychic, or maybe you'll have healing powers, or maybe you'll be able to channel, or maybe you'll be able to go into deep meditation and visualize. Maybe you'll be able to be in multiple places. I don't know. But according to some astrologers, this is a time, if you really focus on this and put energy into it and focus on powerful spiritual discipline, you might come out of this with some powerful spiritual gifts. So if you want to have your own mantra, a specific mantra based on your astrology, go here to astrology.thunderwizard.com, and you can purchase a session with me or with one of my astrologers, and they will tell you, based on your Vedic astrological sign, they will tell you what mantra is working for you that you can use throughout the rest of your life. Mantras are like prescriptions. Not everybody has the same prescription. There are some you can use, everybody can use, like Om Namah Shivaya, but a lot of people go and grab mantras and they have no idea what they're doing. They're playing with fire. You can really mess yourself up if you do a mantra to a planet that is not associated with what your chart, wants to bring out in you. So you'll have an experience, a spiritual experience, but it might be really horrific. You might bring up a lot of really negative stuff. So that's why I recommend that you get a mantra from somebody who knows what they're talking about. But you can do the Om Namah Shivaya mantra if it comes down to it. Let's see. Was there anything else that I wanted to say? I think that's pretty much it. This is a question and answer, so if you have a question, I will be happy to answer it for you. Just write the word question in all caps and then write your question, and I'll be happy to answer it. So Tordis has a question. It says, talking about the 8th house, do you think we might be attached to wanting to transform in general? Asking from my own looking inward. I haven't looked at your chart yet. You did I believe you did email me your information, and I'm still going to get back to you on scheduling our session. But, the 8th house in general has to do with that. Now, the question is whether or not Pisces is your 8th house. because if it's not, then it's going to be dealing with something else. So generally speaking, the 8th house, you're asking me, do you think we might be attached to wanting to transform in general? I mean, I don't see anything wrong with that. Attachment means you're attached to the third dimension, which is the opposite of transformation. So transformation means that you want to go beyond that. I mean, is it possible? I mean, it's possible that you could be, it is possible astrologically that you could be focused on that, but what it would mean, the 8th house is the unconscious mind. So what we want to look for is we want to see if the planets in your chart are helping you to awaken to your unconscious mind, because some planets don't do well in the 8th house, depending on the sign. So some people could have planets in the 8th house and it could just be horrible. Really cause them mental, illness, emotional, psychological trauma. So people who are born with a lot of negative karma that comes out in that way, one of the ways to see that is to look in the 8th house. But you also find out if somebody is meant to be a spiritual person, a healer. I have Jupiter retrograde in the 8th house. So Jupiter retrograde becomes the lightning god. There's a reason why I chose the name Thunder Wizard, is because in my Vedic astrology, among other reasons, I've got the thunder god is sitting there in Pisces. So for me, my 8th house is Pisces. So what that means is, when I teach, as you've seen, and the practices that I do, they're going to be radically transformative. This is why, the 5-element Maushan practices, which you can get at the Patreon channel at thunderwizard.com. If you go to the shop, you can see those. I've been teaching that for, 35 years. And in the beginning, I had a hard time getting students because some people would come in, they had heard and maybe they'd seen or experienced what I could do with these, and they wanted that power. And then I would sit them down. When people would come in and they wanted to be my student, I would say, all right, before we do this, I have to let you know that these practices are going to completely transform you from the deepest part of you, and all of your unresolved emotional and psychological issues are going to come to the forefront. And you better be prepared to go through that, because you won't get the power from this if you're not, that's the price of this. You have to transform on that level. People say, oh, yeah, I've been doing shadow work my whole life, and after just, learning one of the sets, that energy would come up. These people would disappear. I mean, one guy fell asleep for 2 days. On the day that he was going to come and work with me, he fell asleep the day before. He slept all through the next day, and so unconsciously he slept through the entire day so he wouldn't have to come and work with me. So that means that's the kind of teacher that I am. And that explains why, one of the reasons why I think this channel is, as small as it is. So depending on what's in your 8th house will determine all kinds of things. But I don't think anybody can be, attached to transformation in a negative way, because transformation is about not being attached. Anyway, that's my answer to your question. But I'd have to look at your chart to know what that means for you. All right, so I don't see any other questions, so I guess we're going to end it here. That's all we've got. So that's it, guys. If you want more, if you want to learn, listen, the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong is absolutely excellent for getting yourself prepared for this. So if you want to find out where that is, you can go to michaeldenny.org. You can go to thunderwizard.com and subscribe to the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong. You can go to the shop at thunderwizard.com as well. There's all kinds of practices there. I recommend doing something transformative. If you've been waiting, if you've been waiting to do whatever it is, pick whatever practice it is. You've been waiting to have a session with me. You've been waiting to do the 5-element Mao Shan. If you've been waiting to do the lightning Qigong, if you've been waiting to do the any of the guided interdimensional meditations, if you've been waiting around for a good time to do that, this is it. This is the time. Because between now and the end of March is when potentially we have the most powerful transformation. I think this transformation is going to be so powerful if there is going to be a solar flash event, if there is going to be an event where there is a split. This is when it could happen. Now, I personally am not waiting around for that. I'm not so sure that it's going to happen in that way. I think we'll be around here for a while, but I'm pretty confident that what is going to happen, 10 years in the future, people are going to look back and they're going to go, March 30th, 2025, that was the day. From that point on, everything started changing and nothing's ever been the same. So if you're watching this, it means at the very least the universe is telling you, get ready. So take advantage of these tools if you've been waiting around to do that. All right, so I do have a chat goal, super chat. If you want to support this live stream, you can go and contribute. You can also just hit the $ button and contribute to the stream. You can also go here, if you go to michaeldenny.org, you'll find other ways that are even better for me if you want to support the channel. Okay, that's it. We're all done. Yeah, we don't have any more questions. Thordis says thank you. Ariel says hello. Sonaku says thank you. And Carrie Kreiser says thank you. Thank you to all of you. It's great to see all of you. That's it. I love you all. Please be very good to yourselves and stay tuned. As always, I will keep putting up more videos. I'll see you guys next time.